Tonight on the Struggle Isolation Edition, protesting in a pandemic, Novak Djokovic's US Open fault, and we focus on some of the good news going around. This time last year, Melbournians were bragging about being one of the world's most livable cities. But now some Victorians say they're living in a police state. That's right, the Premier that we elected through a democratic process for the second time is now a raging tyrant. How dare he temporarily restrict our freedom so that we could avoid a potentially fatal virus? In all seriousness, Melbourne's lockdown laws are some of the toughest in the world. After spending 4 months in some kind of a lockdown, I for one am going a little stir crazy. But not as crazy as some, because hundreds of anti-lockdown protesters gathered at Melbourne's Shrine of Remembrance to demonstrate defiance to the state restrictions. And honestly, do they not understand that lockdown is only going to get longer if COVID continues to spread by, large groups of people gathering together, completely disregarding public health measures? Look, I'm no expert in how to handle a pandemic, but I'm pretty sure freedom rallies aren't the answer. In fact, I'm 100% sure.
It's fundamentally wrong, irresponsible and unsafe for people to be protesting, and I would urge them and those close to them not to do that. That just doesn't make any sense. That could fritter away so much of the good work that we've done.
Let's cross now to our millennial correspondent to hear her take on these anti-lockdowners.
Thanks, Tavleen, and welcome back to I'm a Millennial, Get Me Out of Here. No, seriously, get me out of here because last week people were protesting against the disease. Yeah, let that one sink in for you. But it had me thinking, if you can protest a pandemic, what else can you protest? I, for one, would like to protest against winter. Think about it, it's cold, it's gloomy, we have to put up with it every year for 3 months. I believe it is my right to feel comfortable wearing a t-shirt all year round. I'm sick and tired of being told to wear a jacket just because seasons dictate it. I won't accept this infringement on my personal liberties any longer. And while I'm at it, I might as well DM Pete Evans and see if he's interested in joining my anti-full moon activist page. What's that, you ask? Oh, it's just a protest a group of us are planning against the next full moon. It's just too bright and we think it infringes on our personal human rights to enjoy a good night's sleep. Alright. All jokes aside, it's time to get serious. If our past is anything to go off, it's clear that millennials are prepared to stand up for what's right and fight against injustices. We have rallied together to campaign against Aboriginal deaths in custody, and we've taken to the streets together to condemn government inaction on climate change. But when it comes to COVID, the best response is to stay at home. Lockdown is hard, there's no denying that. Not being able to see your loved ones, abiding by a curfew, seeing the doors of your business shut, these are all valid hardships, but they're not our forever. It's time these anti-lockdown activists gain some perspective. Daniel Andrews is not a dictator. He is a person we freely and democratically elected to lead Victoria. And leadership is exactly what we need right now to fight this pandemic. And guess what? COVID cases are slowly but surely decreasing. Lockdown works. No, it's not enjoyable, but it's necessary. And for those who think this lockdown demands a protest and requires them to fight for their freedoms, think again. Consider the people in Hong Kong who have been protesting against Chinese influence now for over a year. What about the people in Belarus who are currently fighting against a despotic government? Let's not dilute what it means to be an activist. Lockdown sucks, but our human rights are not in jeopardy, nor is our status as a democracy. To claim otherwise just dilutes the voices of those who are truly fighting against oppression. Back to you, Tavleen.
Thanks, Emily. Moving on, and in some completely predictable news, a new article has alleged that New York underworld figure and sitting president Donald Trump has repeatedly dispatched American troops as losers and suckers. Yes, noted conman and probable sociopath Donald Trump is incapable of comprehending the idea of serving an ideal bigger than yourself and your own personal profit, even if that ideal is some form of hegemonic imperialism. In interest of being fair and balanced, we now turn to our alternative news truth seeker, Alex Jones. Alex James.
Thanks, Tavleen. If you believe the lamestream media, we now know where Donald Trump stands on the US troops. Thanks to the far-left, cultural Marxist fake news magazine, The Atlantic, which claimed in a recent article that Trump called the troops losers and suckers for serving in the military. Now, we all know where Trump stands on the late John McCain, whom he called a loser for getting captured, and not for being a willing and active participant in the terror bombing of a third world nation trying to free itself from a brutal colonial power. Trump likes winners, and winners don't get captured. But where, as the article asks, does Trump stand on the Americans who fought in the First World War? Why did they do it? Who were the good guys in that war? Well, obviously it was whoever was on the opposite side to the Rothschilds and the Democrat Woodrow Wilson. But that's besides the point. What's most important is that whatever locker room or graveside talk the president's engaged in, he loves and supports the troops in the most important way possible. Pardoning them when they commit war crimes. God, I wish I lived in Trump's America and not the People's Republic of Victoria. Here, everyone's always talking about COVID this or responsible evidence-based response that. What about the Satan-worshipping pedophiles who have infiltrated the deep state? That's what I want to know. I mean, we know where Donald Trump stands on them, but what about Dan Andrews? Back to you, Tavleen.
Keep on seeking that truth, Alex, because you haven't found it yet. Right then, we are off to a short break. Welcome back. Now over to some sporting news, and the US Open was back in full swing, becoming the first Grand Slam to be played during COVID-19. The men's competition was tipped to be Novak Djokovic for the taking, with top players like Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer sitting out of the tournament. But Djokovic's time at the competition was cut short after he was defaulted from the tournament for recklessly hitting a ball into a line judge's throat. Djokovic's default led him to lose all prize money and ranking points earned during the tournament. This isn't the first time he found himself in headlines this year, though. A charity event organized by Novak was shut down early as a number of players contracted COVID-19, including Djokovic himself. Many were critical of the lack of social distancing, which wasn't helped by a night out. At least he was looking after his own throat there. Let's cross to Suze from PR to explain some of the reasons behind his recent actions.
Thanks, Tavleen. And I'm sure we're all familiar with tennis superstar Novak Djokovic. He's an Australian Open legend and role model to millions of young tennis players around the world. But we need to iron out some things that we've seen in the media about our superstar, Novak Djokovic. Last week, Novak defaulted from the US Open for hitting a ball dangerously, when in fact he actually mistook the line girl for a fan and wanted to give the fan a souvenir. He even skipped the press conference afterwards because he didn't want the fan to get in trouble for breaching COVID-19 protocols. Quite generous of him, actually. Now, Novak has also been in hot water for his anti-vax stance, but it's just all a matter of perspective, guys. He's just been horribly misquoted by the media, and what he said was he's actually anti-snacks, meaning in his preparation for the US Open, he wanted to avoid snack and adhere to a healthy diet to ensure peak performance. And lastly, Novak has also received criticism for stepping down as the head of the Tennis Player Council and creating a new union only for men that purposely excludes women. But this is just all a matter of perspective. Novak was planning on creating a union for women too. Oh, he wasn't going to do that? Oh, okay. Back to you, Tavleen.
Thanks, Suze. Novak Djokovic isn't the only one coming under public scrutiny. 2020 has proven to be a wrecking ball for the careers of other sports legends, movie stars, music icons, and of course, the most highly acclaimed celebrities, influencers. Careers have come crashing down and there have been what feels like an endless amount of begging and tears on video on purpose. So to save you celebrities from being one of those puffy-eyed peoples apologizing because you're afraid to lose one of your endorsements, we now cross to Employed for some career-saving advice.
If you think people who get paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions, wouldn't need career advice, you'd be wrong. If you're a celebrity, this segment is for you. I don't care if you're famous for being in movies, for sport, for having great music, or being good at telling people they should be like you. This segment is for you. So put down the Instagram and the Twitter and pay attention to me. That is if you want to stay relevant by the time 2021 comes around. I've put together a list of golden rules to abide by in 2020 so your career doesn't come crashing down, crushing you in the process. Rule 1. Your AFL team may have been granted certain exemptions to enter Queensland and live freely among 400 other individuals in the AFL hub. The hub may also be in a relatively close proximity to a strip club and a kebab place. Do not go to said strip club and kebab place. Do not get into a fight in front of said strip club. Do not get arrested for said fight. The consequence? You will be sent home, you will be banned for 10 matches, your team, the Tigers, will be fined $100,000, and Eddie Murphy will call you idiot soup. Rule 2. For all those COVID deniers who say that we're not in an epidemic, you're right, we're not in an epidemic. We're in a pandemic, and in case you didn't know, that's heaps worse. So rule 2, don't be an idiot. Do not boast about taking a few extra laps, spending extra time outside when we're in stage 4 restrictions, and do not post photos of you doing these things without masks. Consequence? People will judge you, which you care about because these people are your followers. You need them. Also, Fitbit will drop you, and you definitely need them. And you will cry and beg for forgiveness. Rule 3. Do not be a dick. Cancer culture is real. You are not better than anyone. Richer? Maybe. Better? No. Consequence? Karma is a bitch, and she will get you. You will be cancelled and join the giant and embarrassing list of names of people who have been cancelled in 2020. Finally, here's a freebie. The age-old saying of do it first and beg for forgiveness is wrong. Don't do it. You won't have to beg and you won't lose your precious endorsements. Back to you, Tavleen.
Thanks, Em. We are off to a quick break. Welcome back. With all the doom and gloom in the news, it's understandable if everything is feeling a bit overwhelming right now. So this week, we have decided to highlight some heartwarming stories from around the world, such as the story of the Adelaide man Mark Muscat. Mark went viral on TikTok recently after he posted a video showing off his unique skills.
Happy birthday, Magpie call for you, mate.
Mark says he mastered the magpie call so they would stop swooping him. And it's really sweet that even after this, he still wished them a happy birthday. Mark, I do just have one question though. How do I say stop shitting on me in magpie squawks? Ever since his video went viral, Mark has been flooded with requests for personalized magpie videos. One man even requested Mark to squawk, "Here comes the bride" for his wedding. An idea the man's wife is now calling Submission 1 for divorce proceedings. Many have pointed out a connection between Mark's videos and Collingwood Magpies, but unfortunately Collingwood's president Eddie McGuire refused to give Mark a free membership. However, much like a suspiciously expensive massage, this story does come with a happy ending, as Port Adelaide chairman David Koch generously gifted Mark with a free membership. This is not the only good news story making waves at the moment, as 2 missing South Australian boaties were found well and alive after the state's largest search operation at sea. For a dose of even more positivity, we now cross to our fangirl, Sophia.
Thanks, Evelyn. Now, every week I choose someone who I'm obsessed with and I explain to you guys who they are and why I'm fangirling over them. But with this whole coronavirus thing shutting like everything down and Scummo and Dan Andrews beefing harder than Kanye and T Swift, everything seems a little depressing. That's why this week I'm gonna take you all through some good news that are happening in the world in a segment that I'm calling News to Fangirl Over. Okay, so it's been reported that Zac Efron is dating Australia's very own Vanessa Valladares, a model and former waitress from New South Wales. The pair apparently met when Zac was on holiday in Byron Bay, and judging by these photos, they have not been able to keep their hands off each other. In fact, Vanessa, no, not that Vanessa, has clearly got Zac smitten as he has extended his visa by a full year. Now, you may be asking yourself, Sophia, why is this good news? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. With Troy Bolton becoming an honorary Australian, he joins Thor, Gale, Wolverine, and literally every single Margot Robbie character ever in the Hot Aussie Actors Club. If you can't say this is good news for Australians, then honey, you gotta get your head in the game. Okay, now moving on to some good news coming out of Israel. Picture this, you're stuck at home, bored out of your brain. You've already watched all of Tiger King back in April, and you've mastered the art of banana bread. You go for a walk, and then you hear a buzzing sound coming from the sky. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a drone dropping little bags of marijuana. That's right, it's literally raining weed. That's what happened last week in Tel Aviv when activist group Green Drone dropped hundreds of bags of cannabis for citizens walking in Rabin Square. This sort of generosity is sorely needed right now. At a time when everything in the world seems so stressful, it's good to hear that the citizens of Tel Aviv can just relax, light up a little joint, and binge watch all 10 seasons of The Walking Dead without stopping. Now all we need is a drone to drop in some munchies. Alright, last one. A 4-year-old boy in Leicestershire, England has gone viral after his parents posted this #adorable photo before his first day of school. Honestly, after seeing a picture like this, my faith in humanity has gone to infinity and beyond. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Back to you, Tavleen.
Thanks, Sophia. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. With Victoria's single social bubble kicking into effect, it's great to see government support the bubble industry, which has been particularly affected during the pandemic due to lack of kids' parties. Of course, if you want to support the bubble industry from home, you can run a bubble bath, pour a glass of bubbles, or even spend your day popping a sheet of bubble wrap. It's not like there's anything better to do. Until next week, the struggle, it's real.